Basically, towards the end of the show, if guys have been watching it, you remember Yvette saying it might be a good idea for Phil to compliment Thomas Covell, because they seemed to get kind of activity once they started complimenting what he did. So that's why we did it. Strangely enough, we did get something weird happen.
Right, and is that something you do often, or is that unusual to do it like that?
It is unusual to try and find a spirit, if you like, that responds to compliments rather than anything else. So we don't normally do it, but as I say, we did get something happen last night.
OK, let's catch up with one of the brothers, Patrick and Kieran Hughes from Southport, who are on the investigation, and Patrick is on the line now. Hi, Patrick.
Hi, Julian.
Good to have you there. So how was it for you?
It was very exciting indeed. Something I've always wanted to do, so yeah, I was made up of an England.
Oh, we've got a bit of a bad line there, but I mean, it was clearly, Phil, a night for the two of them. Would you say they were scared or just apprehensive?
I think they were apprehensive more than scared, to be honest with you, and totally surprising where we were. We got some strange things happen. Mostly it seems to be audible phenomena, which isn't surprising because that seems to be the most frequently reported paranormal phenomena. We had a door seem to open by itself as well, which is very strange.
And do you find that novices like Patrick and Kieran are more likely to get scared than maybe experts at doing it like, Carl and Yvette?
Of course they are, yeah, because, people like myself, Carl and Yvette, they've done hundreds of investigations. People that do it for the first time don't really know the situation they're going to get themselves into, so naturally they're quite scared sometimes.
Right, and I mean, looking back over the last few nights, I mean, I've been impressed with the way the audience members have really got into this and got stuck into it.
Exactly, and everyone that comes on, I have to thank them because they do really take the bull by the horns and get really involved, which is fantastic on my part, because most of the time I like to get them involved, just let them get on with it. Yeah. So it's brilliant.
So roll on midnight, yeah?
Roll on midnight.
Right, well, midnight is when two more audience members will be going out with Phil on another midnight investigation. We'll let you know who those people are a little bit later on in the show, but for the moment, Paul, back to you.
Thank you, Julian. Coming up, was it a death ray machine, a fatal force field, or even a deadly airborne weapon? Whatever it was, it earned its creator the title the Sorcerer of Lightning, and it is seriously terrifying. We're taking a short break. That is waiting for the team, and here's a sneaky preview.
There is an added dimension. We're going to be adding another experiment to the Tesla coil. Quite a dangerous one. I can't say any more.
Welcome back to Most Haunted Live in the Winter Gardens Theatre in Morecambe, where our quest for 8 faces of evil continues. This is night 6, and it promises to be a terrifying journey. Joining me now is the man behind the scientific side of all our experiments, Dr. Kieran O'Keefe. Kieran! How do you think the week has been going so far? And I'd remind you of what you said to us a couple of nights ago. You were so excited, you thought, at least some tangible evidence, something to really dig into. And that was from the Ouija board session, the unknown names, only you knew them, and they were spelt out by the people participating in that experiment.
And I still stand by what I said on that night. We do have tangible evidence. The Ouija board session with the words, we're going to take that one step further on one of the other nights and make it even more controlled. But even that night, some of the other nights too, we've got some interesting sounds coming out of the first ultrasound experiment. We've got a few different sounds that I'm still trying to analyse. So there's loads of different, and of course all the team's subjective experiences too. It's been brilliant.
And last night saw the return of the multi-frequency scanner, which is basically a machine that tunes to the shash, the airways between the radio stations.
Exactly, and it's also constantly scanning through the different stations as well, so it never actually stops on one of the stations.
Okay, here's what happened with the MFS multi-frequency scanner last night, and I thought this was particularly impressive. Here we go.
Essentially a communication device with spirit. It's a box that, like the name suggests, is scanning through all the radio frequencies, and it comes from very early EVP research. The idea that spirits can either use the radio frequencies and highlight a particular word that's been said or that is relevant to what you're asking or relevant to the location, or we may actually be able to hear spirit voices coming through the static.
Thomas, can you say your name? Say your name, please, Thomas. Sound like Thomas!
That sounded just like Thomas.
It did.
That's
else can do it.
And I think we got that 3 times, didn't we? That clear sound, which did sound incredibly like Thomas.
Yeah. It was very impressive. I definitely heard it the first 2 times, and we were reliant on Matt, the sound guy, picking up the 3rd time, and I think, yeah, we did pick it up 3 times. I'm still sceptical because I wonder if we're dealing with something called pareidolia, this idea of finding a pattern in randomness. We were, intensely listening for the name Thomas. What about if we've been listening for the name James? Would we have heard the name James and all kind of interpreted the weird sounds of James?
The glass is always half empty with you, isn't it, Kieran?
I apologise, yes.
Okay, and we've got a couple of very dangerous experiments lined up for tonight. I don't want to talk about one of them, but one is the return of the Tesla generator. Tell us a little bit about that. We've got the full details coming up, but what's the idea behind that?
Well, the Tesla machine we've used on a number of lives, and the idea is to do with spiritual charging, essentially. But it's also a respectful nod to Nikola Tesla, this kind of crazy scientist. But it comes from Yvette's idea that is there some way we can charge the atmosphere and increase the activity around us?
Okay, it's a fascinating device. Let's have a bit more information from Kieran himself on the Tesla generator.
Nikola Tesla was essentially an electrical engineer who died in 1941. And he's famous because he's the guy that invented electricity. During Tesla's long period of research into various aspects of electricity, one thing that he looked at was the idea of transmitting electrical energy without wire. And that's how he ultimately came up with the concept of the Tesla coil. The Tesla coil that's used as part of Most Haunted is an extremely powerful example of a Tesla coil. We're dealing with the sort of power that's in excess of 10,000 volts. On a very, very basic level, and certainly a low power version of this, is the plasma ball. The main reason why the team decided to use Tesla within seances and within investigations generally is mainly because of Yvette's fascination with the idea that all of these very early scientists, they were fascinated with the idea of spirit communication and the paranormal generally. Tesla was one of those figures. And I guess there's 2 reasons for using the Tesla coil. Number one, it's a respectful nod to Nikola Tesla and kind of saying to him, hey, if you're out there, we've got one of your coils here, we're experimenting with the paranormal, come and visit us and communicate. An additional reason why we use the Tesla coil is related to charging the atmosphere. And Yvette is always very keen to incorporate the sort of technology that would have been used at the beginning of the 1900s when spiritualism was at its height. And so we're using the Tesla coil for that reason, but also the physics behind it means that the atmosphere genuinely does get charged, and maybe that affects communication in some way. But there is an added dimension. We're going to be adding another experiment to the Tesla coil. Quite a dangerous one. I can't say any more.
Okay, so another experiment on top of those Tesla generators, those coils. Can you tell us anything about that?
No. I can't really tell you any more. I think I have to keep it secret. It involves cages, can I say that much?
And named after a pioneer of electrical research.
Yes, Faraday cage. Remembering also that Faraday is one of these scientists that was involved in early paranormal research as well. So, there is a link there. But it is very, very dangerous, and it involves Faraday cages and the Tesla machine.
And how many volts will be flying around the team tonight?
From that Tesla machine, we're talking about 750,000 volts.
So is it like lightning then, Kieran?
Yeah, if you were standing there in front of that Tesla machine and you got struck by the electricity coming out of there, it would be just like being struck by lightning.
It is going to be an amazing night. Thank you for the moment, Kieran. And of course, we need your help at home, and we need the help of people in this theatre. We're in the Winter Gardens in Morecambe. Everybody in this audience is part of the experiment. Julian has more. Julian.